So today we're going to talk about some of the free 4-star light cones and freely acquired light cones you can get in Honkai Star Rail that I personally think are good. We are going to throw in some gacha light cones as well that you can get by just wishing on banners and hopefully getting lucky. I'm going to try to avoid most of the 5 stars today. Maybe I can do that in a follow-up video. But starting off really quick, and I know this is going to be very odd to see right here, Herta's shop. Yes, you are able to get free 5-star light cones in Honkai Star Rail. Specifically, you'll be getting your first one from Herta's store. So the game's been out for about a week and a half now, or a week now, right? We've already acquired the free Hunt light cone. There are also other light cones here, Abundance and Preservation. In my opinion, I think the Hunt light cone is probably the best pick here. Good for Don Hung, good for your Zila if you did end up picking her and you're trying to think if you want to roll for Zila's signature weapon or not. I'm not trying to say this is better than Zila's signature weapon. However, this is a good stat stick for Hunt characters. You get 16% max or increased crit just off the rip without having to do anything. And if the enemy is less than or equal to 50% HP, that's another 16%. Whenever the warrior defeats an enemy, their attack is increased by 40%. Zila is really good at killing off those other enemies, so that's more attack increase. So you're getting at least 32 extra crit at max refinement, and you're able to refine this for free without spending any money. I already have the Hunt light cone. These Herta bonds that you end up getting for just completing your simulated universe, getting that score 3,500 or 5,000 for the week, and then you can buy the superimposer and then superimpose and refine it to get more crit. 100% I would recommend purchasing the Hunt light cone first over the other ones. In my opinion, I'm not really fancy on the other 2 light cones. On the Fall of an Eon, I guess you could technically run this for like a Clara. Whenever the wearer attacks, their attack is increased. She's going to be doing a lot of counter attacks. It stacks up to 4 times, and that's 16% when it's max refined. I'm going with the Hunt light cone first. You will be able to buy out that entire shop, so do not worry. You're going to have all 3 of those light cones maxed, superimposed, or it'll just take you about like a month, I'd say. But in the first like week or 2, you can definitely refine one of them to S5 immediately. All right, let's quickly move over to the Forgotten Halls light cones. They have 4-star light cones here. You unlock the Forgotten Halls once you hit level 21, I believe. You get a message from Pom Pom, you reply to it, and then you have the Forgotten Halls. Clearing it will net you some of these Lucent Afterglows, which you can farm from weekly bosses as well. Some of the light cones that I recommend here, first and foremost, is going to be Past and Future. It's a Harmony light cone here that you can put on a character like Asta or Ting Yun. It says whenever the character uses their skill, which Asta is using her bounce, her E ability to build up her ult, the next ally taking action, except for the wearer, deals 16% increased damage, max level 32% increased damage for 1 turn. I'm currently running this on my Asta. I have my speed set up very perfectly where when I use Asta, her E, it switches over to my main damage dealer, Su Shang. So we're just increasing more attack for her. I also like for Mata here for Nihility, although I don't really have many Nihility characters to benefit this from. Increases the break effect dealt by the wearer by 16% and increases their damage to enemies afflicted with shock or wind shear by 16%. I would recommend this is a good Sampo light cone. I unfortunately do not have Sampo at the moment. Goes up to 32% at max refine. You can't run this on Serval. She's a Nihility character, so I could definitely see this being good for Kafka. Obviously, she's in the picture. Sampo, this could be good for her. Those 2 I'd probably recommend. Woof Walk Time. This isn't going to be better than, like, say, for example, let's go open up the light cone section here. So if we're taking a look, the non-easily acquirable one, the gacha ones, the Mole welcomes you. If anyone is using Hook in the game, she did recently get buffed. This is her signature light cone. Really great whenever the wearer attacks skill or ultimate attacks enemies. The wearer gains 1 stack of Mischievous. Each stack increases the wearer's attack by 12%. That's really good, but if you're not able to actually get that gacha weapon, I'd say Woof Walk Time is a good secondary light cone for Hook. It says increases the wearer's attack by 10% and increases their damage to enemies afflicted with burn or bleed by 16%. This also applies damage over time. What is Hook going to constantly be doing? Applying burn to the enemy. So I would say this is really a good light cone to pick up. You get all those light cones that I showed off in the Forgotten Halls for free by just progressing through the story, and you're also able to refine these as well for free by just doing Forgotten Halls and completing your weekly bosses. So eventually you will be able to get all these light cones R5. I do think Wildfire is a good like preservation light cone for either like your main character Japard. Decreases damage dealt by all allies for 5 turns percentage. And then last, I want to say Quid Pro is pretty good. You're able to regenerate energy for a random ally at the start of the turn whose energy is lower than 50%. So your abundance character, your healer character, is also able to provide not only just heals, but energy regeneration as well, excluding the wearer. Those are all the freely acquired light cones, aka the ones you're able to get guaranteed, the guaranteed light cones. Now let's talk about some of the gacha light cones. Now these are technically still free. We're gonna go with Swords Play. Swords Play is a really good light cone for Su Sheng. Every time you attack the same target, damage dealt increases by 8% up to 5 stacks, and that goes to 16 at max superimpose. I really like Swords Play. If you are running some abundance characters here, personally, this is what I'm running on Natasha at the moment, just regeneration rate for her and outgoing healing. However, like I said, Quid Pro for the energy for the other team, for your entire team, seems a bit nicer. On top of perfect timing, just seems a little bit better. So you're increasing your wearer's effective resistance by 16%. And now if you're running a healer, you're gonna want them to be at basically max effective resist. Effective resist in this game is pretty much resisting any type of debuff. Bleed, freeze, shock, all that kind of thing. You don't want your healer to be out of commission because you need them to be up so you can actually cleanse some of the other characters that are getting debuffs on them or heal them so they don't die. You need your abundance character to be up at all times. Also, you're increasing your outgoing healing equal to 33% of your effective resist, and outgoing healing can be increased this way up to 15%. So overall, I think perfect timing is a perfect abundance artifact if you wanted to run it on some of your abundance characters. 2 characters that you want to pretty much run effective resist on is, I think, probably your tank, so they can also stay up, and your healer. Those are the 2 main ones. So effective resist is always a good for me. Speaking of tank, let's move over to preservation here. Trend on the universal market. We have increases the wearer's defense by 16%. This is probably one of the perfect light cones I've seen for fire main character. So you increase their defense. When the wearer is attacked, which they will be because they have a taunt ability that forces enemies to focus them, there's a 100% base chance to burn that enemy. Really good for a preservation light cone. Trend on the universal market. Highly recommend this 4-star light cone, in my opinion. If we're moving on to some of the other characters, so we have Harmony light cone. Dance, dance, dance. This is a gacha light cone. However, in my opinion, it's a little bit better than that previous Harmony light cone I mentioned, past and future. So it reads very simple. Whenever the wearer uses their ultimate, all allies' actions are advanced forward by 16%. Max refine is 24%. Advanced forward is basically you're able to take more turns before the enemy. So if you're using like Asta, for example, and you're using your ult to increase the speed of your allies, you're also advancing their action as well on top of that. If you want to use it for your Ting Yun and give ultimate back to one of your characters, you're also advancing all allies' action by 16%. If we're looking at Good Night and Sleep Roll, I think this is a pretty good Nihility light cone. For every debuff the enemy has, the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 12%, stacking up to 3 times. And this effect also applies damage over time. I think this is a pretty good Nihility light cone. Probably for like Sampo, right? If you're running like a dot team, you could run like Sampo, Serval, Hook, a damage over time team. And then Eyes of the Prey, of course, this is going to be a perfect Sampo Nihility light cone. Increases the wearer's effective hit rate by 20% and increases damage over time by 24%. So for all of your Nihility characters, you're going to want to run effective hit rate. Effective hit rate is essentially the chance that you'll be able to apply your debuff. And what do Nihility characters do? Nihility characters are all about debuffs. So I personally think that is a perfect Sampo light cone, as well as a perfect Nihility light cone at that. Just so we can try and cover all pages here, let's talk about some of the Battle Pass light cones. Let's take a look very quickly at the Battle Pass light cones that you're able to get. There's 7 of them for each path here. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to skip some of the ones that I don't personally like here and just get to the ones that I personally think are good. Starting with the Harmony one. I think the Harmony one is probably the best one on the Battle Pass. So at the beginning of the battle, whenever the wearer turns begin, one of the following effects will be randomly applied. Either all allies' attack will be increased by 10%, all allies' crit damage will be increased by 12%, or all allies' energy regeneration rate increases by 6%. Max level, it's 24, 24, and 12, or 20, 24, 12, respectively. I personally think this one is really good. I'm also a fan of the Hunt light cone as well. Increases the wearer's crit by 12%, so you just get the raw stat there. And after a crit hit, 16% fixed chance to dispel 1 buff on the enemy target. I think the Hunt light cone is good. You're getting the crit, and you're also able to dispel 1 buff from the enemy, so you don't have to worry about running like a Pella, for example, to actually remove that. Although Pella is good with some Hunt characters like Yan Qing. Yeah, I think the Hunt light cone's good. I'd recommend that. Some of the other ones, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Abundance one. I couldn't get behind it. The Nihility one, after the wearer uses basic attack or skill, deals an additional damage to the wearer's attack to a random enemy that has been attacked. Like, I'm trying to compare it to some of the other Nihility and Abundance light cones that we've seen, you know? Like, Perfect Timing, Abundance light cone is just too good, you know? Harmony, I think the Harmony one's great. Preservation increases the damage of the wearer when they use their ultimate by 60% of the wearer's defense. This seems really good. You get the raw defense increase and 60% more. And I think Preservation, Hunt, and Harmony are my top 3 for Battle Pass. All right, I think those were all the 4-star light cones. And of course, excluding the 5-star light cone you get from the Herta shop, which I think is the best, especially with the free refinements you get. I think those are all the light cones I wanted to talk about. So like I've said, there's a lot of 4-star light cones in the game. You don't have to feel pressured to always go for the signature light cone for 5-star characters like Zila. There are other alternatives you can run for Zila. Stellar, Sea, Swords, Play. There's other 4-star light cones and other free light cones you can get. Don't feel FOMO, okay? I always say light cones are a luxury thing for whales. If you're a free-to-play or a light spender, try to use what you have at the moment. Or if that's like your absolute favorite character and you've been saving everything for them, then yeah, go for it. But there are always other options out there that are good enough.